Morning. Today we're going to be doing lesson 13.3, so topic 13, lesson 3. It is starting on page 721 of your pages in your math packet. So if you don't have this out, if you'll go grab that real quick, and then we'll be ready to start. And you'll also need to have your little clocks with you, okay? All right, so if you need to grab it, pause the video, run grab it, and if you've got it, let's go. If you have to pause, just restart when you come back and you'll be ready. Okay, so our I can statement today says that we can, or I can, tell time to the half hour. Okay, so if we look at our paper, we have a red clock and a blue clock. And you can notice that, or you notice that the red clock has two hands on it, but the blue clock only has one hand on it. Okay, so this is what they're asking us to do with those two clocks. It says the red clock shows a time to the hour. And if we look at that, you can see your hour hand, remember it's the shorter, is pointing to the 1. It's not touching, so we know that's the hour hand. The minute hand is longer. It is pointing to the 12, and that means it is, what's the hour? 1, and when the minute hand points to the 12, it means o'clock. So this clock shows us the time to the hour, and it shows 1 o'clock. It says the blue clock is missing its minute hand. You only see the hour hand. We know it's the hour hand because it's not touching the number, okay? So what they want us to do is draw the minute hand on the blue clock so that the clock shows a half hour later. Tell why you think you're right, okay? So I'm going to lay my paper down and let's look at the clock, okay? So the hour hand is pointing between the 1 and the 2, okay? It's almost in the middle of that 1 and 2, or it should be right at the middle of that 1 and 2, okay? So we know that the hour hand has not gone all the way to the 2 yet. That means it is still the hour of 1, okay? So if we look at our minute hand, we are asked to draw a minute hand on that blue clock that shows half of an hour has passed, okay? So if I went halfway around my circle, what number would I stop on? Okay, and let me remind you that on my clock, and you can see that nice and clear, on my clock, these blue numbers are the, I'm going backwards, are the minute numbers, okay? So each little blue mark stands for 1 minute. So when I get to the 5, which is right behind the 1, when I get to, if my minute hand is pointing to that 1, if I didn't have the minute numbers on here, I know that when the minute hand is over the 1, that means 5 minutes, okay? And as I keep going, and the minute hand is over the 2, that means 10 minutes. When the minute hand is over the 3, that means 15. Over the 4 means 20 minutes. Over the 5 means 25 minutes. I'm sorry, I know it looks like I'm looking down, but I'm watching the clock on my computer screen, so when I'm looking at that angle, it looks like I'm looking down. I don't mean to look like that, but let's keep going. When it points to the 6, that means 30 minutes. When it points to the 7, that means 35. Now, watch this. I'm going to show you something. It's the same all the way around. Every one of these little blue marks means 1 minute. So if this is 35, that would be 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, okay? So instead of having to count by ones, we learn the minute name of the number on the clock, and that's the number in the blue. Your clocks don't have that number in the blue, you just have the hour hand and the minute hand and that the 1 through 12 on your clocks, okay? So we keep going. When it points to the 9, that means 45 minutes. When it points to the 10, that's 50 minutes. When it points to the 11, that's 55 minutes. And when it points to the 12, that's 60 minutes, okay? So if I'm on the 12 and it's 1 o'clock, as my minute hand moves on a real clock, as the minute hand moves around the clock, every time it goes all the way around and back to the 12, that hour hand is going to slowly move as that minute hand is moving around. And by the time that minute hand gets back, say it started there, by the time that minute hand would go all the way around and get back to the 12, the hour hand would have slowly moved and point to the 2, meaning it would now be 2 o'clock, okay? But we want to go back right here. We're between that 1 and the 2, and we want to show that half of an hour has passed. So if I make my minute hand move halfway around my clock, it's going to stop when it's pointing down. And so then my clock is going to show, my minute hands are going to show half past an hour. And when it's exactly half past an hour, the hour hand is pointing right in the middle of the 2 numbers on the clock, okay? So it's always the smallest number when you're reading time until you get between the 12 and the 1, okay? But it's, except for between the 12 and the 1, it's always the smallest number. So if I look, my hour hand is between the 1 and the 2. What's the smallest number? 1, okay? So the hour is still 1 because it hasn't gotten to the 2 yet. So this would be 1, and then my minute hand is on the 6, and the minute name of 6 is 30. So this time would show 1:30, okay? So let's look back at your papers. On this blue clock, you're going to draw the minute hand, and I'm going to stick it up here just for a second. Okay, I've got my marker, and I'm going to draw the minute hand. Now remember, it goes straight down to that 6, okay? And there, I've made my clock show 1:30, just like we did on this clock, okay? All right. Okay, let's turn our page and look at the next one. Okay, you should be looking at the green boxes, all right? So in your first green box, it says an hour is 60 minutes, and we just counted. We started the 1, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. And every time that minute hand goes around, one whole time, that's an hour. Okay? So there's 60 minutes and an hour. A half hour is 30 minutes. Okay? If I took that half hour, that 30 minutes, okay, and I added the other half hour to it, it would equal the whole hour number of minutes. 0 plus 0 is 0. 3 plus 3 is, there's a doubles fact, 6. Okay, so this is a half hour, and this is a half hour. When we put both of those together, we get the whole hour. So there's 60 minutes and 1 whole hour. Okay, he goes on to say when the minute hand is on 6, we can say, what number do we say when it's on 6? What number is down here? 30, okay? We can say 30. Or another way you can say that is half past the hour, all right? Let's look at his next little box. It says the hour hand is halfway between 2 and 3, all right? So let's take the big clock. This is just like your third box right there. The hour hand is halfway between 2 and 3. And my minute hand is pointing down to the 30. So it would be 2, because look, there's my 2 numbers that my hour hand is pointing in between 2 and 3. It's always going to be the first number, the smallest number, 2. When the minute hand points to the 6, we know that minute name is 30. So 2:30, okay? And if I wanted to show you 3:30, my minute hand would move all the way around my clock again. And remember, as my minute hand moves, my hour hand moves slowly, and I have to make this one move. Okay, and it would be what time? Look at your 2 numbers. What's the smallest number? 3 or 4? 3 is the smallest number, so the hour is still 3 because it hasn't quite made it to the 4 yet. It can't be the hour of 4 until it points to that 4. And between the whole time between that 4 and that 5, it's still 4. So this would be 4:30. It's between the 5 and the 6. So it is 5:30. Now watch this. When both of them point down to the 6, the hour is 6, the minute is 30. It would not be 6:06, it's 6:30, okay? Here, oh, I'm sorry. The minute hand, I just told you that wrong. Rewind, take that back. When the minute hand is pointing between the 6 and the 7, it is 6:30, not those minute hands are an hour hand are not going to be lined up like that. That's my mistake. I should not have said that. I'm sorry. So when it's between the 6 and the 7, it is 6:30. And then between the 7 and the 8, it is 7:30. Okay, what time would this be? It's between the 8 and the 9. If you said 8:30, you're correct. Okay, that one would be what? 9:30. This one would be, what's the smallest number? 10, 10:30. This one would be 11:30. Now watch this. It's going to go between the 12 and the 1. Remember, I said the only time it is not the smallest number is between the 12 and the 1, because now it's past 12 o'clock, but it's not quite to 1 o'clock yet. So this is the time when it's the bigger number. It's 12:30 here, okay? All right, so now let's look at your guided practice. It says write the numbers to complete each sentence, then write the time on the other clock. So let's look at, we're gonna go over number 1 together. Number 1 says the hour hand is between, so if you look at your clock, okay, your hour hand is between the 7 and the 8, okay, so you would put between 7, you can trace it, and 8. The minute hand is on, where's the minute hand? It is on the 6th. So the minute name of 6, remember, is 30. So the time would be 6:30, and on your, 7:30. So you would, on your digital clock, you would write 7, and then there's the colon to separate the hour from the minutes, and 30. Okay. All right, number 2, you're going to try on your own before you do the practice. Have mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, whoever you're with, to check your clock and make sure you've written the correct time on the clock before you go on. Okay. So today you're going to do an upload to Seesaw, page 723 and 724. Okay, you're going to take a picture, upload this picture on one page, upload this picture on the other page, because I've added 2 blank pages to your template. So you have a picture of your math lesson, then you have a page to put this picture on, and a page to put this picture on. Okay, all right, so let's go over the directions. It says to write the time shown on each clock. So you're going to look at the analog clock, and you're going to write the time on your digital clock. Same thing for this one, same thing for this one. For number 6 and 7, it says look at the pattern, write the missing time. So they've got 6 o'clock, 6:30, 7 o'clock, blank, 8 o'clock, blank, blank. You're going to figure out the pattern and write the missing times in the blanks. Make sure you do all 3 for each of those. Number 8, it says Carlos plays basketball for 30 minutes each day. He always starts playing at 1/2 an hour. Write times he might start. That means you get to pick, what do you want his starting time to be? It just needs to be 1/2 an hour. Write the times he might start and stop playing basketball. Draw the hands on each clock face to show the times. So you're going to pick his start time. It just needs to be a start time that starts at 1/2 an hour. Doesn't matter which hour you choose, okay? And he plays basketball for 30 minutes. So then you're going to show on this clock what's 30 minutes past the time that you started, okay? And you'll write the times, draw the hands, and write the times on the bottom underneath the clocks. We're going to turn the page. Make sure when you finish that one, you finish all of it before you take your picture to upload to Seesaw. On the back, you're going to solve each problem below, okay? Number 9 says, Sandy walks her dog at 3 o'clock. She walks for 30 minutes. What time does Sandy stop walking her dog? Draw the hands on the clock face. Write the time on the other clock. So you're going to draw the hands on here and write the time here. Number 10, Robin gets to school at 9 o'clock. Her math class starts 30 minutes later. What time does Robin's math class start? Draw the hands on the clock face. Write the time on the other clock. So it tells you what time her class starts, or she gets to school. Her class starts 30 minutes later. You're going to write that time on there, the time that her class starts, and then write it here. Draw the hands here, write the time here. Number 11 says show 8 o'clock on the first clock. On the second clock, show the time 30 minutes after or 30 minutes later. Is the hour hand still on the 8? Remember, we talked about that. You can rewind the video and watch where we talked about how the hour hand moves. You're going to write a sentence down here to explain and tell me why the hour hand is where it is at. Is it still on the 8 or is it not? Number 12, which clock below shows the same time as the clock face? Okay, so you've got a time on your clock. You're going to pick the digital clock that shows the same time. Okay. After you finish this page, you're going to take a picture. Make sure when you take your picture that you're holding your camera straight over your paper, just like this. Please do not take a picture of it like this. It's hard for me to see it. I can't zoom in on it and read your answers clearly or see your hands drawn. Okay. So you're going to finish page 723 and 724 and upload both of those. 723 goes on the first blank page on the template. 724 goes on the second blank page in the template. Okay. Sometimes when you try to put both of them on the same page, it cuts off answers. So if you'll upload them on separate pages, that will be great. Right. Good luck.